What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. We are back with the third installment of Primary Preview, and we are here to, talk about some chaos, a little disruption, you might say. Phil, how you doing today, buddy?
Good, Lane. I'm excited to talk about more 40k. It feels like it. We're back in the groove. We're back in the state of giving y'all as much feedback and information as we can before we all ramp up for 11th edition. We got preview after preview. We got Xenos today or yesterday, probably when you see this video, and then Chaos is coming out, and the rest of the Imperium factions are coming out the following day. So we're getting ready to go.
Yeah, things are ramping up in 11th edition, and we are just so stoked to talk about all the things. But the thing we're talking about today is disruption. So which of those primaries are we talking about first when it comes to the combat?
Probably the coolest name out of all of them, which is Death Trap. It's Disruption versus Take and Hold. This was actually my first game of 11th edition. I was running Take and Hold. My opponent was running a Disruption, so I got firsthand experience right off the bat to see this matchup and how it could be played. So
Yeah,
definitely an interesting one. It has what we're now seeing as the first of the actions. Prior to this point, we are not seeing a lot of actions or any at all, because all we've done is take and hold and purge, and neither of those had actions with it. This is the first primary mission that we are seeing with actions, and it's a very interesting one at that. So let's break this down. First, let's talk about the action, because I think that's the most important part. It's going to give context for everything else. It starts in your shooting phase. One friendly unit within range of an objective, excluding your home, or within a terrain area outside your deployment zone that is not yet tracked. It does not say wholly outside. It just says outside. Its use limit is unlimited. So each unit initiating this action, this phase, must be within a different terrain area. So you could go out, you could trap 6 different terrain areas if you have 6 units that can go out and do it. It completes immediately, so you don't have to wait at all. And then that terrain area is trapped. Place one of your unit operation markers within that terrain area. So that's the action. Very straightforward. Get on an objective, get out on a terrain piece. It completes immediately, and you're in business. That doesn't actually give you points. What is that gives you points is for each terrain area that you trap this turn, not ones that you've trapped previously. For each one that you trap this turn, you get 2 VP. And then for each of those terrain areas that is an objective, you get 3 VP. That is cumulative. So you could, if you trap an objective and also it's a terrain piece and it's an objective, you get 5 for that on the turn that you trapped it. Seems relatively straightforward. And any battle round, at least one enemy unit that has started the turn in a terrain area that has been destroyed, provided that terrain area is trapped. So they go on to the objective, they go on to the terrain piece you've already trapped, and then you end up killing them. Great. You get 3 VP for that. That's pretty good as well. And that is any battle round. And then the final, which is the second battle round onwards, at the end of your command phase or the end of your turn in the 5th battle round, which means we once again have bottom of 5 scoring. You control at least one objective, excluding your home objective. So once again, your home doesn't count, but you will potentially score points for holding your natural or the middle or your opponent's natural or whatever else. So a lot of words there. Our first action, Lane, are you running Death Trap? Are you running this primary mission?
So one of the things I will say is if you are one of the people who were concerned that you are going to be playing the same mission over and over and over again, despite it, being a different opponent and they have a different disposition, disruption might be the answer for you. Okay. If you're like, you know what, I would like to have a more varied gaming experience. I think this is my first stop so far. We haven't really deep dove priority or recon, but just at a base level, the things you're doing in here are a lot more reflective in certain aspects of who you're playing against. As we look at this mission in specifically, I think it's very cool. It allows you to have a lot of autonomy of being able to really focus on, well, I need to just score some points. So I am going to, trap some terrain areas, right? You can just already commit to doing that. And then that is, that you have the autonomy to do those at will and have a game plan of when you're going to do which ones. And then you also have on the, second part, as long as you kill something that's on a trapped terrain piece, you're getting the 3 VP. So this is one of those things that early in your game plan, you really want to always be trapping the middle. If you aren't trapping the middle first turn, your game plan is already shit, in my opinion. because like the trap never goes away. Sure, you might not score it for being trapped again, but it's now a trapped terrain piece, and every time they put something on there, if you kill it, you get 3 VP, right? But it's one of those other things too, where if you can trap, if you have a fast unit turn one, as long as you can go have trapped their own, natural, you can look at like, okay, well, I can only score 15. If you can get their natural and the middle for 10 VP and maybe a couple small terrain pieces and wait on actually trapping your own natural, like this is going to be more of the deep dive stuff that we will get into in depth, but like looking at it, if you have the ability to kind of think ahead and really do the far ones and work your way back, like I think you'll be rewarded a lot, because what is your opponent going to step on? They're going to step on the ones that are away from you first. So make those trap. It'll make your life easier doing the rest of this. And then it's just classic hold an objective that's not your home. Love to see it. That's in most of these. Yeah, I think it's a solid mission. I think you're definitely going to want extra units. You're going to want things that are very good. That at being hard to detect whether they're actually loan up or whatever. But you're just going to need a couple extra pieces if you're playing this primary set as a whole, because actions, as Phil said, they're in this and they haven't been in any of the others. So like just as an immediate thought, plan on taking more units if you're playing Disruption.
Yeah, and I think Lane hit on it, and I'll simplify it a little bit of like you are trying to trap deep objectives or deep terrain pieces early. So I should be trying to quote unquote trade early, as in I'm going to go pretty far out to make sure that I can trap the ones that I know are going to be more difficult to trap as the game proceeds. And then as the game proceeds, like I still will have the opportunity to trap my home, because those points you will only accrue if you are in a position where you have done the trap that turn. So like, yes, absolutely. This is going to be beneficial to a player that can identify what our opponent's game plan is. So the one thing you should be looking for is what is our opponent doing with take and hold, or what do we expect our opponent's list to do, right? Like they should be going out to the middle objective. This one specifically on the take and hold side, they benefit from flipping your objectives. So obviously they're going to go out and try to touch things. Well, that means I need the objectives trapped. That way, even if they do come flip it, fine. But I have to get points off them when they come flip it. I have to kill the thing that came out there to make sure that we keep this score close, because Disruption definitely feels like it's going to score. It's going to have to work a little bit harder, but it's going to more consistently score close.
Yeah, I definitely feel like of the missions, this one does have a certain amount of floor to it, as long as you plan enough units, right, to go do actions and do things like that. Disruption definitely has a pretty nice floor when it comes to how many points you score.
Absolutely. Okay, we are moving on. Next is Purge the Foe into Disruption. This is delaying action.
Yeah, I really like this one. It's very simple compared to the last one. Any battle round, for each enemy unit you destroyed this turn, your opponent is playing Purge. They have a little bit of kill. I think kill more is kind of their side of this card. But hey, you get to do the same thing. This is as close to classic Purge the Foe without being the mirror match as you're going to get. Some of that variety we talked about that you're going to see within Disruption is here. Next part, second battle round onwards or end of your turn if it's the fifth. Control at least one objective, excluding your home as always. And then the second battle round onwards, 3 VP if you control at least one central objective and at least one expansion objective. This is going to mean that if you want to be scoring a good primary, you need to still be able to kill things, right? I think that this is the first glance at like, even if you're doing the primary holding side of this, it's going to be really tough to be like, oh yeah, I can consist on, maybe killing one thing a turn and maybe getting hold to center in my natural twice. Like your primary is not going to score a ton if you still aren't able to kill things, which I think makes this going to be one of the most like, you're going to really have to fine tune your list of, I really need enough trash and trading pieces. And then I need to still be able to play this mission where I still need to be able to trade really, really well and kill things. And right. And you're going to be like, oh, cool. I'm into big knights who have Purge of Foe. Hell yeah. This is going to be fun. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting. But I think the only other thought here too is like, again, you're going to be wanting to still have things that can be tough and go stand in the middle. We talked about this even with Purge in our last video, is like you still have to be able to hold more than one objective in No Man's Land for a turn or two to have a chance. So I think that's going to be like, it's going to be the fine line you're trying to ride all the time in Disruption of tuning your lists to be able to do actions when necessary, kill whatever you see in front of you, and still have some tankiness to kind of play the mid board. But I think it's still definitely doable, and I think I'm hoping that a lot of the detachments that have, you know, kind of this as their disposition are hopefully going to have some things that help them accomplish those missions.
This is not a surprise to see this is what we have to do in Approach the Foe. We are seeing some conflicting things of like us and whatever mission you're going into are competing with each other for some of the same thing, which is, hey, we know Purge wants to get kills into us and wants to kill more into us. And then the one thing that this disposition is asking of us, we just need to kill units, and if we kill multiple units, we can score multiple units of primary. But it's gonna be more and more difficult into some of these armies. You brought up knights. I think that's really interesting. You know, I think Necrons once again are still going to be tough, right? Like Catan spam or anything like that. Like if you're not tasked to kill big things like that, or big hordes, or whatever the case is, like these games are probably going to be closer than you want to, or it's going to be one of those ones where they're going to try to push diff on you. So like in the we're going to talk about the teams aspect later on, but like this is one that I'm probably putting in the back of my head. If I'm running disruption, I have to be able to do this mission well, just to keep it like, if it's in teams aspect, I'm trying to keep it close. If it's singles, then I really have to be aware of the fact that like Purge and Taking Hold are pretty scary for what some armies can do, and I got to be cognizant of how many get those games back.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to watch. And you know, you did mention teams a little bit. We'll see as we look at the others, but I think this is going to be where your best players need to be. It's going to take the most skill. It's not going to be one you probably take two of unless you have some very high skilled players, because this is one that if it does get trapped, and it like this situation I just talked about, knights, and you're playing this mission, it's going to be tough. So I think this is going to be one of the more, try to put it with the veteran players for sure. But we'll get to the deep dive of that maybe a little later. But you know.
All right, next up is the mirror. Disruption versus disruption. It is Outmaneuver. Let's just jump right into it. So this is end of your turn. You control the enemy home. This is any battle round. You just get straight up 10 VP. It happens at the end of your turn. Just straight up 10.
I hope you're fast.
First battle round, end of your turn. This is only in the first battle round. For each objective you control, excluding your home, 4 VP. Second and third battle round, for each objective you control, 5 VP. And that's end of your command phase. And then fourth battle round onwards, for each objective you control, it is 6 VP. I love this one. I am very high on this one.
It's very, very interesting. It's basically kind of like the, you know, you have to sprint out and try and control as much as possible. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try to hang on to like one or two, and we're going to slow things down a little bit. And then when you have more control and you're like, oh, cool, well, now I can just throw things out turn 4, turn 5 and just hold things. Like that is the most like consistent game plan you can have. The odd thing is, though, is your opponent's going to be doing the same thing. So it's going to be very interesting on how much do you really want it. Because for a lot of armies, it's not going to be hard. Battle round 1, boom, I'm on all 3 midboard objectives. But that also means I just gave you 3 things on 3 objectives to go kill. You know, like that's not a great, you know, value proposal. I think it's nice that they're like, oh yeah, we're going to slow it down round 2 and round 3. But if somebody pushes the button round 1 and says, I'm going to stand on all the things, if that person is planning on doing that, they better be staged to go hit you again, I think, personally, because like you're just going to be down so much material. I think if you lose at least 2 of those things, and like if you aren't really able to trade them back, you're just already kind of at a material disadvantage. So I think you like, I know it lulls a little bit is what it feels like it's supposed to do. But like, I think if you go first, this is one of the things where it's like, if I do push the button and I stand on all 3, I just keep pushing the button and I just keep running at you. And that's just my game plan, right? Like if I can just rack up so many by still holding at least 2 or 3 in the midboard, you know, by the end of my command phase, turn 2 and turn 3, sure, I'm probably not holding your natural, but if I can just fucking send it, you know, maybe I scored enough to do it. The crazy thing is, though, is like the comeback mechanic on this is insane. 6 VP for each one that is not your home. Like, oh my God, like it's a great plan until you look at the flip side and you're like, oh man, well, I really have to be successful at this. It's I don't know. I feel like, because even if you don't send it though, and your opponent can just make those trades and then just like keep attritioning you, they're still just going to be like, oh, yeah, I have bottom of turn for sure. I'm just easily going to have enough to go score max primary.
But like I can do that on the bottom of my turn too. So it's
Yeah,
like
but if you're sending too much out early, I don't know. I think
yeah, you're right. You're right. If you play the attrition game and they beat you on the attrition game, where turn 5, like you have nothing to go out and step on 3 objectives, and they just walk on 3 objectives. Well, technically, like that's 18, but really capped at 15, and you got 12 first turn. If you max that out, let's say you're able to get on there, like really it's 12. If you manage to get on their home, great, you'll get to 15, whatever. Really, it's 12. So they have a +3 diff on you going into that turn if they are able to do the same thing against you, and then it's how you play the middle of the game and if you're able to flip your opponent's home. So like overall, super interesting. I like this one a lot. It's like it really speaks to me and a lot of the armies that I like to run. So like yeah,
yeah.
I'm about it.
Yeah, again, this is you need to know the tempo and you need to know your matchups. Like literally, it's the answer of should you press the button or should you not is going to be different almost every single time. And so again, I think it only behooves you to have a good understanding of your matchups. All right, up next, we have Smoke and Mirrors. This is the Disruption versus Recon. We'll go over the action first. Decoy, it is in your shooting phase, one friendly unit from that is within range of an objective marker that is not your home and that is not already a decoy. You can do this with as many units as you want, and as long as each of those is on a different objective, and then at the end of your turn, it completes if you control the objective, and then that objective now becomes a decoy. You put a marker on it. That's too long. Don't want to read it. You got to put markers on objectives. This is the pseudo terraform of 11th edition with some different terms and conditions, which we'll get into. But that is the action you have to do. Any battle round for each objective marker that you turn into a decoy, you get 2 VP. And then for each of those objective markers that is within your opponent's territory, you gain an additional 2 VP. And so these don't go away every turn on their own. So as you know, you won't have to keep doing them per se. We will get into that. And then second battle round onwards, end of your command phase or end of the 5th, like so many others, control one outside of your home. Love to see it. And then at end of the battle, at least 4 objectives are decoys. I haven't looked, but I think, Phil, you were talking that I think 2 of the 3 have 4 objectives in no man's land when it comes to the 3 map choices or something, at least one of them. Yeah. But that's going to be the big thing. You're going to be trying to have 4 objectives that are decoys at the end of the battle, and it's going to be kind of hard to do that unless you go second. So that's what we want to get into. The parts you are not seeing here is what your opponent can do. Unlike Terraform, your opponent does not have to action to remove your terraform. They just have to go, hi, cool, I touched this, it's gone. So yeah, that's objectively worse. It's going to be a little harder, but it's still doable. You're still able to score reasonable points in this mission, especially, we've talked about it already with other dispositions. This one, we've talked about it even more so. You need more pieces. You need things that are disposable that can go do actions, right? Whether it's easier, depending on the map, to go touch their expansion objective or the center objective that's on their side of the board, you're going to want to be trying to do that. The hard thing is you are going to have to control it. That is the difficult part. So that is going to be what you're really going to have to be forming your game plan around, is being able to complete a terraform equivalent action in 11th edition.
Yeah. We were talking about this, Lane and I, and as we read more and more into Smoke and Mirrors and the opposite, which is Surveil the Foe, it's like this is not as easy. Like the fact that my opponent can walk on. So let's just talk through what we have to do if we are, we are just doing it from the disruption side. So I'm trying to get as many objectives to become decoys, but all my opponent has to do is to walk onto them to stop me from to remove that, and I have to send another unit out to do an action. I can't do anything else, and I have to have OC on it, but my opponent doesn't. So what do I actually need to do to make sure that I keep these? Well, unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of murdering. Like you have to kill a lot of things to make sure that you keep these objectives, because if your opponent has units left, as we have all heard in 11th edition, screening is a lot harder. Controlling objectives can be more difficult because we're going to be inside terrain, which means we can get shot unless we're benefiting from a lone op or a hidden mechanic. So, like, overall, we have to be pretty aggressive. Like, disruption into recon has to be pretty freaking aggressive, because my initial thoughts from this is benefit is in the recon because they have less work to do. The disruption player has so much more. Like, I have to think about so many more things as the disruption player than I would as the recon player. Of like, how do I get to turn 5 for the end of the battle and have 4 objectives for decoys if I'm down points, which can very easily happen.
Yeah, I think the big thing is you're going to have a go first game plan and a go second game plan. And this is one of the, I think, the first like real concrete versions of that we've seen. You know, since a lot of this has changed to be whether you're first or second, you score at the end of your 5th battle round, right? So that makes it a lot easier, but not on this one. Right on this one, I think it's going to be one of those things you go, okay, cool. Well, I need to be able to try to at least do 2 on their side if I'm given the opportunity, right? And then do my own and just really try to max out. I did every single objective turn 1 because I went first. Because the chances, if they get to go, when literally all they have to do is toe on to any of the objectives, and you probably don't have 4 decoy objectives. Like, that's going to be kind of the flip, right? If you go first, you need to be prepared to go, all right, cool, we're going to try to bust a move. We're going to try to, even, have some speedy, threats that can kill enough stuff off of their natural that might have started on there to allow me to control it as I do this action and stuff. So like it's going to feel like a sack of a lot of units, but the mid game part is going to go back to feeling a lot more like normal 40k as you just go to holding your own and trying to kind of control at least hopefully your central objective if it is split, and that'll feel fine. But holding 4, if you are not going second, is going to be very, very hard. This is potentially, we talked about, before the show too, like this is Terraform. Terraform is, hey, I'd really kind of like to go first. But yeah, I don't know if you do. I think you're like, I'll take the as long as I can keep material, 10 VP, we're golden. If I have the material to deal with your threats and just have enough OC on the places to do these actions, I'll take the 10 then and the maybe 6 turn 1. Get your own 2 and maybe one of theirs. That's even 8 if you can do that. But like you take what you can and then you just play a much more measured game of 40k. Yeah. So yeah, I think this one's going to be very interesting to see how people problem solve the issue of being able to play all these other missions as well as having the ability to either set the tempo and maybe do what you talked about of where you're just kind of like you are all tempo. You're just shoving, you're going, and you're not giving them enough space to, ever remove at least the 2 on your side, right? So that you always have those for free. You're not wasting time doing actions in your backfield again, trying to get them done. Because, we talk a lot about how important it is to just go deny primary in 11th edition. If you can get rid of the 1 they're holding and 0 them out, that's very important here. If the recon player is ever allowed to just repetitively keep taking you off, and the fact is they don't even have to auto-C you. Right, they can give you the 4 for I guess you held your own if they really had to, but I mean if they have the right units, like you won't even get the control more or the control 1 in your command phase. So it's definitely going to be one of those that you have to have a good game plan for, because the bar for you to score points, I would say, is slightly higher than your opponent's bar to deny you points.
The way I would think of this is if I was going first, I need to be able to punish my opponent for exposing all the things that they would need to expose to stop me from decoying a bunch of objectives. So ideally, I go out, I decoy a bunch of objectives if I'm going first, and I say, okay, if you want to stop these decoys, like if you want to start getting them off now, you have to touch this objective, but I need to be in a position where I could then punish you for stepping onto those objectives. And I have to make sure that I've only put stuff out there that I'm either willing to lose or I have a tool to maybe pull them back, whether it be a reactive move or to reduce their hidden range, like I can reduce their detection range, whatever the case may be. Like I need to have those tools in the pocket if I'm going to do that kind of a game plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see for sure. If you can, we'll say you're at least able to keep your natural and your center objective, right? If you're able to expend maybe 3 units throughout the game to go do one of theirs for that additional, 4 points a turn, and we'll say you're able to still hold yours, like that's still a very respectable primary number to put up, right? Like if you get it, that's 8 times 3, that's 24 plus another 16, like you're already at 40 there if you're able to hold you're a natural every time, because you're going to need to be able to do that. Like that's a solid score, assuming you aren't ever able to go do it again on one of theirs. And if you go bottom of turn, you got a lot higher chance of just maxing out that primary.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. Let's do the last one, which is disruption versus priority assets. Yeah, we'll just get right into it because there's no point messing about. And that is locate and deny. Okay. All right. Once again, we'll go over the action because the action will give us a lot of information on what else we're doing for the rest of this mission. So it happens in your shooting phase. One friendly unit within range of a central objective, not one in our opponent's territory. It happens once per turn. And then it completes at the end of your turn if your unit controls that objective. And then your unit performs a sensor sweep, remove one operation marker from the battlefield. A unit cannot start this action if only one operation marker remains on the battlefield. And then start of the battle, select 5 terrain areas not within your deployment zone and place one of your operation markers in each. If this is not possible, place one in each terrain and outside your deployment zone. So you are pretty much putting these markers out, and then you are also doing the actions to remove them throughout the game. This is where you get your points. End of your turn. At least one enemy unit that started its turn within range of an objective has been destroyed. That is worth 4. Only one of your operation markers remains, with a unit of yours in that terrain and no enemy units there. That is worth 4. We'll get into that in a second because it sounds very weird. Okay, second battle round onwards, end of your command phase or at the end of your turn in the 5th battle round. Once again, bottom of 5 scoring for both of us. You control at least one objective, excluding your home. Seems very straightforward and easy. And then end of the battle, only one of your operation markers remain with a unit of yours in that terrain and no enemy units there. Whew. Okay, let me break this down very simply. You are going to put out 5 objective markers, pretty much. And you're going to put them on 5 different pieces of terrain outside of your deployment zone. You are slowly, each turn, going to remove once per turn. You have to remove these. Because the whole point is you get to a point where there's only one objective marker remaining. Like, I say objective marker, operation marker remaining. And you have a unit on there, and you get the 4 points for having a unit on there and no enemy units there as well. So this reminds me of, what was the disappearing objectives one?
Shoot, it wasn't hidden supplies, it was supply drop.
Supply drop. This reminds me of supply drop, but the player, like me as the player, has full control of which quote-unquote objectives are disappearing. So my opponent doesn't necessarily know which one I'm trying to leave for end of the battle and which one I'm trying to leave for potentially turn 4.
The thing is, they have the same action.
They do, absolutely.
Yeah, so they can remove them as well, but they have to try to be cheeky and not remove the ones that are easy for you to hold. That is the entire chess game. The two of you can both remove the markers, right? And to a certain extent, you are trying to, right? It's going to be a very similar thing, right? You're going to select 5 that are close to you, and then you're going to try to do what we said in the other 2 ones, is you're going to run at them, and you're going to deal with the stuff that is as far away from you as possible, so they have to come towards you. Because they have something in theirs, which is they get 4 points if they do the action. You do not get that, right? But you do get it as soon as there is only one left. So that is a very interesting thing. But it's very, very weird. Because, like, you have to kill their stuff that's on one. But if you get rid of them, then you're not getting those 4. But then they're not getting 4. It's so weird. Yeah, I don't know the answer. It's a giant chess game. It really is. Like, there's a point where you could just be like, well, maybe neither of us score, not really. If I can get rid of everything but the 1 and then just hold it, I will get the 4, and then you can't get 4. But like, if you're holding it and they're able to kill you, they're gonna get points for killing you on the objective too. Like, man, it's a very interesting mission. I'm really excited to actually get this on the table at some point and play through it a couple times, because it is a very strange mission in terms of just like how varied your game plan can be based off what you're trying to accomplish. Because you're really hoping you can bait them in to trying to, do the action with something, and then they just give it to you and they fail, is like kind of a hope. Because then they're not getting the points for it. They're losing material for it. And you can just work your way down throughout the game, right? Maybe they get 1 to make the math a little better so you can get earlier. But, man, it is interesting.
Yeah. This is the first truly interlaced mission that I've seen so far. Like, this one truly feels like it is the two competing for each other, because it's not just like, okay, like I'm gonna kill some, but you also have to kill more, but it doesn't really affect me. Like, we're kind of side by side. These two are truly interlaced with one another in terms of primary scoring. So overall, very, very interesting. Overall, definitely something very unique. Obviously, objectives matter, but the agency in terms of when you remove these operation markers is going to be a game within itself of like which one I am set up to remove. Like, if I'm trying to go after your natural, let's say there's an objective marker out there, because for the individual that is the disruption player, yeah, you are the one who sets up the markers. I think
Yeah.
that's from what I can tell.
Yep. Disruption's the one who sets them up, and then the priority assets player gets rewarded for removing them, technically. But it's also one of those weird things too, though, right? Like, theirs has very specific wording too, as well as and yours does too, I guess, right? Kill things that are on an objective marker. Well, you're trying to, I think, go for the best of all, like, of both worlds, right? You go on, you're gonna do the action to make it not that by the end of the turn, and you're gonna kill whatever of theirs was on it as well, so that what you leave out there is no longer on an objective marker. So when it dies, it's not just giving them points, and you maxed out as many points as you could from that situation. I think is going to be kind of like a common, just like simple strategy to try to approach this mission with. But we'll see. We're gonna get some maps in front of us, and then we can kind of be like, these are the 5 we would choose, and and for these reasons. And I think that'll give us a lot better. And I think this is one we're gonna have to play a time or two to really be like, you know what? Like, I feel like we really, really just kind of have a better idea of just how the different game plans really turn out working. But I think this is going to be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, because the disruption player is going to have to be very careful in terms of where they place these markers, and it depends on the layout. It depends on your opponent and kind of what style list they're running, because priority assets is the one that, like, they dump on all the good detachments. Like, all the 3 detachment point detachments are priority assets. It's like Space Marines with Gladiator's Task Force, and Blades of Ultramar, and like all the ones that are your top tier detachments, they just gave priority assets. So this matchup is probably going to happen, right? Like, people are gonna probably, like, this will end up happening at some point, whether in your singles tournament experience or teams. So yeah, we're gonna see this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm excited to see this one played out, and we'll definitely have to feature this one sooner rather than later, because I think people are gonna want to see just all the fuckery that ends up going on here.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, disruption is complete. Lane, any final thoughts? What armies do you think, or what kind of tools do you need in an army to do disruption well?
We talked about the others needing trading pieces and assets. This one is even more so. You are really going to find yourself needing to go have expendable things go do a lot of this stuff early and as far away from you in places it will not live. It will not. I am sorry. That is not what's going to happen. You need those things to go do these actions early, far away from you, and fast. So that's just going to be the biggest takeaway from reading through these is you have to have kind of that game plan, and those options is just some speed and expendability.
Seeing a little bit of a trend here. Purge definitely didn't require it. Taken hold, there were benefits for having it. Disruption definitely feels in the mandatory vein. So if you don't have fast expendable trading pieces, or infiltrate scout is no longer a thing. So you don't get both of those things. Monka, you just get one of those things, but you're still fast. And overall, those tools you have to be consistent with. So if you're looking at your army and you don't have infiltrate, you don't have scout, you don't have fly, you don't have great infantry that's got good movement, like, this is probably not the one for you. Like, I'm sorry, Death Guard, we ain't playing this. It's probably not within our wheelhouse to play. Custodes, same thing. Probably not for us. And we have other good ones that we can potentially do. So don't get too disheartened, because this is for other armies. Lane said it, like, this is going to be your quote unquote better players in a teams matchup. We'll talk about teams in a bit, but this is probably going to be one of our less likely, unless an army is very, very tooled out to do this. It can be a little bit more difficult, but you're going to catch opponents off guard, because if you're the only person running disruption and everyone else is running their taken hold and purge, like, well, some of these guys don't want to do the missions for Purge and Take and Hold into Disruption, because those can be more difficult if they're not tooled out to deal with those. So yeah, it's a chess game within a chess game.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm excited to see who decides to take some disruption to the events, and how much their opponents are like, God, you just do so much different shit, and it's good. I think it's going to be one of those where it allows you to really, kind of have that ability to play very specifically into different missions. It's going to take some more list building skill, but if you can nail it, I think you'll be rewarded. So excited to see it. But that'll be it for the Disruption primary preview. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. And we're gonna get these others out soon. We want to keep cranking out content because it is 11th. And as always, do not forget that victory isn't given. It is forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We will see you all next time.
See you guys.